All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know that little button that's oh so tempting in the morning? The snooze button?
Uh,
We all
uh,
know it. We all probably use it.
yeah,
But we've got a ton of research and articles here about why hitting snooze. It's more than just a, quick little morning habit.
it really is. And it's interesting because it kind of goes against what our bodies naturally want to be doing. We weren't really designed to wake up to these jarring alarm clocks.
Yeah, that is true.
We evolved to kind of rise with the sun. And so by using these alarm clocks, we're almost like living in a constant state of jet lag,
That's a good point.
We're constantly jolting ourselves awake
Yeah.
when our bodies aren't really ready.
And I was reading that it's similar to what factory owners did way back in the Industrial Revolution.
Hmm.
Like they would give workers, tea and coffee
Oh,
to keep them
wow.
going longer and override their natural sleep patterns.
Exactly. And that need for a boost hasn't gone away. I mean, we see it even today. Karen May, Google's VP of People Development.
Oh, yeah, I read about her.
Yeah. Yeah. She was someone who prioritized work over sleep to the point where she actually collapsed.
It's scary.
Fainting spells reconstructive surgery.
Wow.
It's a real reminder that our bodies can only handle so much.
And it's not just about feeling tired either.
Right.
I mean, lack of sleep can have really serious consequences,
Absolutely.
even fatal ones, like those drowsy driving accidents.
Oh, gosh.
How
Yeah.
do you think?
It's as dangerous as being, intoxicated.
It really is.
And it goes beyond just that groggy feeling, too. Even one night of missed sleep, it can mess with your mood, your ability to think clearly, and it can even change how your biological clock genes express themselves.
Whoa, wait, so messing with sleep can actually change how our genes work?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
And does that mean we're more likely to, make bad decisions when we're sleep deprived?
Exactly. Our self-control plummets.
Hmm.
Like our decision-making muscle gets tired.
That makes sense.
That's why we're more likely to hit the snooze button or grab that donut instead of the fruit.
Yeah, or procrastinate. It's like the willpower just disappears.
It really does. And speaking of bad decisions, let's talk about this thing called sleep inertia.
Oh, yeah.
Because hitting snooze when we're already feeling groggy, that's probably the worst thing we can do.
It is, isn't it?
If we wake up during a deep sleep cycle, we get thrown into the state of disorientation and grogginess.
Yeah, you just want to go back to sleep.
Exactly. And snooze just prolongs that feeling, making us want to hit it again and again and again.
And again, it's a vicious cycle.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So how do we break free from this snooze button trap? How do we start our day off, right?
Yeah, how do we do it?
Oh, yeah.
What are those first alarm hacks you were talking about?
Well, one of the simplest but most effective strategies, I think, is to put your alarm clock across the room.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, you physically have to get out of bed to turn it off.
That'll do.
So that breaks that cycle of mindless snoozing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, no more scrolling through social media in bed or working late into the night, huh?
Exactly. Our bedrooms should be sanctuaries for sleep.
Okay, I can get behind that. But what about those nights where you just can't fall asleep?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that 4-7-8 breathing method I saw in one of these articles.
Right. The 4-7-8 breathing method.
Does that actually work?
Yeah, it can be surprisingly effective. You just control your breath. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale slowly for 8.
Oh, wow.
You're basically calming your nervous system down and telling your body it's time to relax.
So it's almost like a mini meditation before bed.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
It seems so simple but powerful.
it is. And while we're on the topic of relaxation, one of the articles mentioned how stress can impact sleep. Do you know when we're sleep deprived, our cortisol levels, they go way up?
Yeah, so we feel more stressed, and then lack of sleep is making us even more stressed.
Exactly. It's this vicious cycle.
Man,
And high cortisol levels, they're linked to all sorts of health problems, weight gain, heart disease, even a weaker immune system.
which explains why people who sleep less than 7 hours are 3 times more likely to catch a cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So getting enough sleep, it's not just about feeling good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about protecting our health.
And I remember that study you mentioned about the Stanford basketball players who saw huge improvements when they slept 10 hours.
Oh, yeah. What are your thoughts on that research?
Well, what really struck me was that these are elite athletes, already performing at such a high level.
Yeah.
And just by prioritizing sleep, they saw such a dramatic difference.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how essential sleep is for everyone.
Absolutely. Sleep, it's like hitting the reset button for our bodies.
I like that.
It lets our muscles repair, our energy stores replenish,
Oh, yeah.
and our brains consolidate all those memories and process all that information.
It's like a secret weapon we all have but forget to use.
Exactly. And the best part is, it's completely free and available to everyone, you know?
It's true.
No fancy gadgets, no complicated routines.
Just got to make time for it.
Exactly. Just make the commitment.
Okay, so back to that pesky snooze button.
Hmm.
We've talked about how bad it is for us. But why do we keep doing it?
I think it comes down to a few things. You know, there's that element of instant gratification. Hitting snooze. It gives us that immediate sense of relief.
Yeah, just 5 more minutes.
Exactly.
Right.
Except it turns into 15 or 20.
Every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we're rushing to get ready.
Yeah, and there's that fear of missing out, too.
Right, right. You know, if we get up now, we're somehow missing out on something.
Even if it's just a few minutes more of sleep.
Exactly. So it's like this weird combo of wanting to avoid discomfort, but also wanting more pleasure.
Makes sense. And then there's the habit itself.
Oh, the habit.
You hit snooze, you feel groggy, you hit snooze again.
And again and again.
So we're training our brains to associate the alarm with snoozing instead of waking up.
Exactly. But the good news is that just like we can form bad habits, we can also create good ones.
Okay, so how do we break this snooze button habit and create a morning routine that's actually, positive and productive?
Well, we already talked about moving that alarm clock across the room.
Yeah.
But another thing you can do is change the sound of your alarm. You know, if you're used to that jarring buzzer, try switching to something gentler.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Maybe even a favorite song.
Yeah, I've definitely had mornings where I just hated my alarm sound.
Exactly. And another tip is to set a realistic wake-up time. You know, if you're constantly setting your alarm an hour earlier than you need to be up.
You're just setting yourself up for failure.
Exactly. Be honest with yourself about how much sleep you actually need.
Okay.
Create a schedule that supports that. And finally, and I think this is probably the most important one, find a reason to get out of bed that you're excited about.
Yeah, because if we dread waking up, we're way more likely to just hit snooze.
Absolutely. But if we have something to look forward to, whether it's a yummy breakfast, a morning workout.
Or just some quiet time.
Exactly. It makes a world of difference.
So it's about shifting our mindset from, I have to get up to, I get to get up.
Yes.
Love that. So it's not just about hacking our alarms, it's about hacking our minds too.
It really is.
Mhm.
By understanding the psychology behind these snooze button habits and trying out these simple strategies, we can break free from that groggy cycle and set ourselves up for days that are more productive, positive, and fulfilling.
I've always wondered about, are those people who seem to function on no sleep? Are they superhuman? Or is there something else going on, like, Beyonce or Roger Federer?
It's so interesting, right? Like, we always hear about those successful people who can get by on just a couple hours. But I think they probably prioritize their sleep in ways we don't see. You know, maybe they're masters of power naps.
Oh, yeah.
Or they have really strict sleep schedules, even with their crazy busy lives.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like they figured out how to get the most out of every minute of sleep.
Exactly. And speaking of maximizing sleep, one of the articles talked about how Bill Clinton used to take power naps.
Power naps. Is that a real thing, or is it just a perk of being president?
You know, power naps can be super helpful for anyone. Research has shown that a well-timed nap, like 20 to 30 minutes, can really boost your alertness and focus,
Yeah.
even your creativity. But the key is not to nap for too long or too late in the day.
Right. You don't want to mess up your nighttime sleep.
Exactly.
I've always been kind of skeptical about naps. But maybe I need to give them another shot.
Yeah.
Especially now that I know how important sleep is for, making good decisions and fighting off colds.
Yeah, try it out.
Yeah?
You know, think of naps as like strategic rest periods instead of just something you do when you're lazy.
Like mini vacations for your brain.
Exactly. And while we're talking about being strategic with sleep, remember those sleep cycles we were talking about earlier?
Oh, yeah. The ones where if you wake up during a deep sleep cycle, you feel super groggy.
Exactly. That sleep inertia.
The snooze button's worst enemy.
Right. Well, there's some really cool tech coming out now that uses what we know about sleep cycles to help us wake up at the best times.
Really? Like what?
Like sleep trackers and smart alarms that actually monitor your sleep and then wake you up gently when you're in your lightest sleep phase.
Wow. So it's like having a personal sleep coach in your phone.
Hmm.
But are those trackers actually accurate?
You know, there are some concerns about relying too much on technology and data. Some people might get anxious about constantly checking their sleep stats.
Yeah, I can see that.
But for others, it can be really helpful to learn about their sleep patterns and see where they can improve.
So it's about using technology in a smart way.
Exactly.
Got
As a tool, not a ruler.
That makes sense. Speaking of learning about ourselves, I'm curious about dreams. We talked about them a little earlier, but I'd love to know more. Why do we dream anyway?
Dreams have fascinated people forever, but they're still one of the biggest mysteries about sleep.
It's true.
We know they mostly happen during REM sleep, when our eyes are moving rapidly and our brains are super active. But why we dream, that's still a big question.
So it's like our brains are putting on a show every night, but we don't know what the plot is.
Uh-huh. I like that analogy. Some researchers think dreams help us process emotions and memories, even practice for real-life situations.
So like our brains are using that downtime to sort through everything that happened during the day.
Exactly. And there's also the idea that dreams can be a source of creativity.
Oh, wow.
Artists, musicians, writers, they've talked about having breakthroughs or getting new ideas from their dreams.
That's so cool. It's like tapping into a hidden well of creativity while you're asleep.
Exactly. As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I think it's important to remember that getting better sleep, it's a journey, not a destination. It's about trying things out, finding what works for you, and making small changes that add up to better, more restful sleep.
Like we're all sleep scientists doing our own experiments.
Exactly. And be kind to yourself. There will be nights when you don't sleep well, and that's okay.
Hmm.
The important thing is to keep coming back to those healthy habits. Keep making rest a priority. And remember that sleep isn't a luxury, it's essential for living a good life.
Couldn't agree more. That's a great takeaway.
Absolutely. I hope our listeners feel ready to ditch the snooze button and embrace how amazing sleep can be.
Me too. Sweet dreams, everyone. Okay, so we've talked about the science of sleep, the dangers of snoozing, and even the mysteries of dreams. But before we wrap up, what about those nights when we just can't seem to fall asleep? We've tried all the tips, but sleep still feels impossible.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We all have those nights where sleep feels so far away, no matter what we try. One technique that can be really helpful is progressive muscle relaxation. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure I really know how it works.
So it's actually pretty simple. You just go through your body and you tense and then relax different muscle groups, starting with your toes. You tense them up for a few seconds. Then you let go and notice that feeling of relaxation. Then you just keep moving up your body, your calves, your thighs, your abs, your arms, your face.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a body scan meditation where you're paying attention to each part of your body.
Exactly. And by focusing on that tension and release, you're calming your nervous system down and getting your body ready for sleep.
That makes sense. Like giving yourself permission to finally unwind from the day. What about those thoughts that race through your head when you're trying to fall asleep? I know I've been guilty of replaying conversations or worrying about my to-do list when I should be drifting off.
Oh yeah, the mental chatterbox. It can be so annoying. One thing that can help is to keep a notepad and pen by your bed. So if a thought pops up and you can't let it go, just jot it down real quick. That way you've acknowledged it and you can let it go knowing you'll deal with it later. Oh, that's a great idea. It's like outsourcing your thoughts so your mind can finally rest.
Hmm.
What about things in our environment, like temperature or light? Do those affect our sleep?
Definitely. Temperature is a big one. Most experts say you should keep your bedroom a little cool,
Yeah.
like around 65 degrees.
Makes sense. Like
Okay.
a cozy little cave for hibernating.
Exactly. And darkness is super important too. We talked about avoiding blue light from screens before bed, but it's also important to make sure your bedroom is really dark at night. Even a little bit of light can mess with your melatonin production, which is the hormone that controls your sleep-wake cycle.
Right, so blackout curtains, eye masks, even just throwing a towel over any glowing electronics.
Exactly. It's all about setting yourself up for sleep success.
I love that. So it seems like creating a sleep-friendly environment is just as important as dealing with the mental side of things.
Absolutely. It's about taking a holistic approach to sleep, taking care of both your mind and your surroundings. And as we've been saying all along, prioritizing sleep isn't about being lazy or indulging. It's about investing in your health, your well-being, and your ability to truly thrive in life.
So well said. When you prioritize sleep, you're giving yourself the gift of a sharper mind, a stronger body, and a more positive outlook.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've learned so much about the power of sleep and how to unlock its incredible benefits.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
Until next time, sleep well.